Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening to you out there. So, tonight, doing something, I guess, a little bit different than usual. Had some people, at least one person, vote. Okay, so let me try this again. So, what we're doing tonight, I appreciate that it says tabletop RPG, and we're doing something adjacent to that. So I feel like that's probably the best category. Sorry if I sound odd. I have horrible, goopy stuff running down my throat right now. I'll be fine, I promise. So, I am currently in the process of building a world that I'm probably going to run most of my tabletop RPG games in my party, table, whatever you want to call them. And tonight, I'm going to be trying to sculpt some of the world map. We'll be talking about the finer points of 5th edition versus 2nd edition D&D and Pathfinder, respectively. And we're going to be talking about the legacy of Tolkien in the tabletop gaming space. So let's get into it. Hopefully I set this all up right. I think I have. I don't seem to have. Bear with me while we chat. This is one of those weird, tricky ones. I'm sorry, chat. So basically, it's been a day, chat. It's been a day, and this is just kind of par for the course at this point. Quite frankly. Okay. This is capture method. Okay. Yeah, we're just going to. There we go. There we go. Okay. Okay, chat. Here we go. We're just going to reconvert that one because it's not working otherwise. So this. Okay. I've had an interesting 24 hours, chat, and I will try not to just yell at you about them, but it's been deeply frustrating. And we're probably going to get into. You know what? You know what? Until someone stops me, we're probably going to go on this a little bit of this rant. But like, why do this? I could be anything, but why present as an alien, chat? And it's because my brain doesn't work the way yours does. Hopefully my brain works the way no one's brain no one's brain does, chat. I'd like for that to be the case. I am in pain, I am in distress, but here we are, we're doing this thing. And that, I think, leads me very nicely to sort of the current one of the things that is a bit of a bugbear for me in the fantasy genre, right? Of course, I say that, chat, but which of us are really doing well right now in this modern day and age? No one. Absolutely no one. Anyway, I don't remember what size I made this. I want to say it was 50. Um, let's talk about, yep, let's talk about Tolkien, chat, before we really start like diving into before we really start diving into this whole world building thing. Tolkien is frequently considered the founding father of most modern fantasy, chat. And like, I'm not here to rip on the man, okay? I have read many of his works. I have enjoyed most of them. I'm not the biggest Tolkien nerd, okay? But, 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 this leads kind of a problem where most fantasy now is, I don't want to say homogenized, that's the wrong word. Homogenized is definitely the wrong word, chat. But I want to say that most fantasy these days is, I gotta move this. Most fantasy these days is, what's the term I'm looking for, chat? It's not homogenized. It's not like the same. It's drawn from the same source, chat. It's become codified. That's what I'm looking for, chat. Codified. Um, and what could you possibly mean by this? You no, absolutely no one asked. But like, there's this idea that for fantasy um you have elves, you have dwarves, and that's kind of like your basic stock in trade for fantasy, isn't it, chat? It's kind of your basic stock in trade. And and I think that's limiting us, chat. I feel like that is limiting us in what we can really do with the genre. Uh, Everything has increasingly become this very European, very medieval persistence of the genre. And you might be thinking, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong having a codified genre, chat? And I will tell you, chat, I will tell you, nothing. Nothing is wrong with that, except, chat, it prevents creativity, which I feel like is the primary purpose, chat. I feel like creativity is the primary purpose, metric, desire, like a goal of fantasy, chat. Would you agree with me on that, chat? Would you agree with me? I think you'd agree with me. Um, so when you have a system that's implemented, when you have this where it's implemented and you have a consistent, this very consistent, uh, very very codified, absolutely not, very codified, what something is and isn't, you start to run into problems, chat, because if you notice, like these days, what's considered like the Elder Scrolls, chat, the Elder Scrolls is an innovative setting for fantasy, chat, and I feel like this is kind of not to brag on the Elder Scrolls, chat. I actually like the Elder Scrolls. I may one day play some Elder Scrolls on here, chat, because I enjoy it. But, chat, but when the Elder Scrolls is a strong metric for innovation in a fantasy genre, because oh my god, it's dwarves. They're actually elves, chat. Its dwarves are actually elves. I'm doing the Elder Scrolls a bit of a dirty here. It's actually really cool, and someday I'll talk about it. But this is a problem when like most in all fantasy, the idea of what an elf is and what a dwarf is continues to get pursued around the same metrics, maybe with a few modifications here and there, chat. And and chat, I think what this is actually doing, chat, is this is limiting us. Oof, this is limiting us from really getting into, let's call it, well, I guess let's break fantasy down to some essentialism here, chat. Fantasy as a term, as a word, chat, means, I mean, what means a fantasy? I don't know how better else to put it, but the idea is that it is a proposal that is not reality, chat. The idea here is that it's a proposal that is not reality. And now you have it so well codified, chat, that if I say the term arcane magic, like half of you are just like, oh, I immediately know what kind of spells that is. That means they can't heal unless they're a bard. Um, and I feel like this is the problem here, chat. I feel like this is the problem with a codified fantasy, is that it it becomes rote. It becomes rote, chat. And I think that the point of fantasy is to be fantastical, is to be otherworldly, to captivate the mind and imagination and take them to hitherto unknown heights and locales. Because that's why we play fantasy, right? Uh, and the thing is, like, actually, no, that's actually not why we play fantasy historically. At least that's not what humanity does. Humanity uses fantasy as an allegorical storytelling device to talk about morality, mostly, Chad. It's not trying to explore social issues or injustices. It's this is good, this is evil, and good should win because evil is bad. And people will say, some people might think I'm dissing on fantasy for being that, but I'm actually not, Chad. I feel it's important. I feel it's important that we also acknowledge that that is the story of a child, chat, or rather, the story for a child. It is not something meant for us as adult individuals, chat. I'd like to assume, given that I have the mature tag on, chat, I'd like to assume that everyone here is an adult. If you're not an adult, look, I'm sorry, but your mom probably wouldn't approve. Father, parental unit of undeterminate sex and magnitude, probably would not approve because I am a sweary, sweary individual. So if you are here by chance as some sort of random young baby who's unaware of what they're doing and is just playing with a magic picture box, this would be a good time to reach up in the upper right hand corner of your screen. There's a little X button, and it's time for you to close that and go away. This way I can start swearing and not have to worry about polluting young minds. Thank you. For the rest of you who could pass the Harkness test as adult, rational individuals, let's continue. The basic story of good v evil in fantasy and the heroic good triumphing over despicable evil. This is a story for a child to help them understand the nature of the world, chat. That is what fantasy was designed for. And so you're saying, but I like fantasy and I'm an adult. How dare you compare me with a child? I'm not. We'll get there, chat. We'll get there, okay? So if you're an adult, what do you like in fantasy? What do you like about it? So we're going to get there, chat. First, we have to get to teenagers, chat. If you are a teenager and you're in chat, I'd like to apologize for you being a teenager. Adolescence adolescence, because that's what teenagers are for humans, adolescence is hell. And I'm so sorry you have to endure that. But it does get better around age 30. It does get better. Your brain starts making more sense of the world, and you are able to start relaxing. And I'm sorry to tell you this, but you will probably stop thinking that Dragon Ball Z or whatever one they're on is as cool as it was when you were younger. That's an unfortunate, that's the sacrifice you have to make to not be a teenager anymore, chat. I'm so sorry. I know it's painful, but I believe in you, all you teenagers out there, that you can do it. I I have always hated adolescence, chat, and for those of you who are out there who are adolescents, I don't hold it against you. But I've hated adolescence since I was an adolescent, and I didn't want to be an adolescent since before I was an adolescent. Except for a brief period of time where I thought that, man, these adolescents sure do have their lives figured out. Oh, and then that became when I was like, what even am I? What is happening? Adolescence broke my mind, chat. It broke my mind. I didn't develop properly, and my mind is now in pieces because of it. Anyway, um, this may be a slightly sad stream, chat, because either I'm going to be sad or I'm going to start yelling at you, and I don't want to start yelling at you at this point in our relationship. Okay, so, chat, so, teenagers, adolescents, this is when the edge sets in, chat, and there are some people who, perhaps unfortunately, chat, perhaps unfortunately, do not don't end up growing out of the edge. It would be better if they could at least acknowledge the edge as maybe a bit of an issue. I don't know, yeah, but this happens and it can happen sometimes. And I know you're all thinking, oh, I have this one edge lord friend. This is why we have the term edge lord, chat. And I have this one edge lord friend, and like they are way into like the color black and like the color black and like reds, and like everything has to be dark and like so gritty that you could use it as a paving substitute, right? And I'm here to tell you, chat, that take on fantasy is what happens when we as children start to understand that the world hurts, chat, and that the good guys don't always win. So I guess what I'm saying is that being an edge lord, at least for a while, is something we all kind of have to get through, chat. It's something we all have to do, at least a little bit, and some of us stop there, chat. Some of us stop there. Um, Others of us don't. Others of us continue on. But that's what the edgelord period is, chat. And it's not anyone's, I guess, fault for going through that, chat. No one's at fault there. Um, I was going somewhere with this, chat. Right, fantasies, fantasies, fantasies. So let's talk a little bit about fantasies, chat. Uh, we've all had fantasies. I don't need I don't need to know what yours are in particular, but that's kind of like the core of what a fantasy becomes for an adult, right? It's a desire to be able to comprehend and to be able to live in a world that is idealized, or at least to be able to approach the world from an idealized fashion, chat. It is a call to make things simple, to return to a more to an to a more comprehensible and more accept time we found more accepting and safe in our lives. And you might be thinking, oh, she's about to, rag on chat for deciding. No, chat, I don't think you're wrong for wanting this. Gods know I want that. But this is kind of why, chat, this is kind of why I don't do fantasy. Um, I can take on fantasy trappings in my worlds. I can. My worlds can have fantasy trappings. And they can have a lot of sort of, what's the term I'm looking for? Facets or features of fantasy chat. But they're never really fantasy because I don't want to tell a fantasy story, chat. You could use my settings to tell a fantasy story, but that's not actually what interests me. And I think it's something that is the perpetual disappointment of at least one of my players who really super likes fantasy, like traditional high magic fantasy with like wizards and sorcerers and all that kind of stuff. And they love the idea of magic being this inherent force you can tap into. And I despise it, chat. I don't hate it in other people's work, but I despise coming up with and managing such worlds, chat, because they're incredibly, aggressively uninteresting to me. So, truthfully, truthfully, I don't know that I actually do a fantasy world, chat. I don't know that I do. I'd like to say that I do, maybe. Um, and it's definitely fantasy like, and we'll be talking about this world. This world's name is Ido, by the way. We'll get into it in a minute. But ultimately, this is why I like more broad speculative fiction as a grounding for my works, chat. Because speculative fiction, of which fantasy and sci fi are siblings underneath, um, is about exploring worlds in which what can be taken as normative for the world in which we live, chat, or at least the world in which you live. Because I don't live in that world, chat. I don't understand what world you exist in. I would kind of like to, chat. It'd be nice for me to inhabit a world where someone could point at a dog and I didn't go, oh, hey, that's a shaggy ass deer. It'd be nice to live in that world. Or, a world where I didn't have to cry myself to sleep some nights because that's just what's going to happen. It'd be nice, chat. That's all I'm saying. Um, I'm sorry, this is probably getting way, way too heavy, but I'm having a day. But I like to explore different social structures, consequences of being people, because, and I guess I bring this up, chat, because I find you humans fascinating. I don't, I'm not one of you. I, some, I appreciate that I was raised on human culture so that I could understand it. I'm a second generation observer, chat. So this means I was raised on your culture, but I, I've never felt human, chat. Um, even being raised on your culture, I never understood it the way that human beings seemed to. Which, I mean, makes sense. I'm not human. That's the way it works, right? But because of that, chat, because of that, I've been fascinated by the idea of what it is to be human, what it is to have how human societies function, what it is to have this culture around you and have that shape like your modus operandi and your belief structures. Like whether I agree with it or not, chat, I'm equally fascinated by libertarianism, by socialism, by communism, by feudalism, uh, by autocracies, by democracies, by republics, by monarchies, by oligarchies. It's all amazing to me, chat. And the most amazing part of it, chat, the thing that captures me the most is the stories that you tell about the world, your myths and legends. People ascribe them to fantasy a lot, which is why I think Ido is some kind of fantasy world, right? But I don't know that I'm telling a fantasy story in this fantasy world. Um, and and I want to look at everything that makes you human, chat. I want to look at everything that makes you the people you are as a whole species. And I want to embrace it and explore it. Not, and the thing is, people will like, well, do you mean like, do you want to explore like Greek fantasy and like, and like English fantasy? Like, no, no, not like that, chat. I mean, as people, not as like, oh, it's X culture versus Y culture. No, the things you do and the way you are. And I guess that's one of the things that keeps me going, Chad, is I find you, I find humanity, I find all of you so enthralling, Chad. I always want to know more. I always feel like I haven't actually learned what you are yet. It's the only bit of my job I like, Chad, is getting to observe everything about you. Sadly, it's not the interesting bits. It's mostly like mass market media because, that's the shit that sells out there. I'm so sorry to tell you this, chat, but you know, your copyrights on your media work on this planet are not being respected in the wider galactic community. This not only is being rebroadcasted, but like everything is being remade for like other. There's no more imagination in modern media anymore, chat. Not even a little bit. Like half of it is just cribbed off of stuff that we peel off of industrial level civilizations. Like, what's the point of hiring someone to actually come up with a new show when we can just record an entire like 12 season run of, I don't know, like Psych on whatever program, whatever signal Psych comes in on, and then just rewrite it using different using whatever local species the audience makes sense towards the audience. I'm so sorry you had to find out like this, Chad. Okay, but I mean, it's not like you're not doing it to yourselves already. Like half of all of your films are basically ripoffs of other films at this point. Um, so, Chad, this takes me by a very, very long way. And this sounds like a non sequitur, chat, but I swear to you, this will make sense. At least it makes sense in my head. And so, at worst, at best, chat, this will all make sense. At worst, chat, you will understand some of how my mind works. And for those of you who walk away with nothing more than a broader understanding of how my mind functions, chat, I'm sorry. No, no one needs a broader function of how my mind works, chat. And I'm sorry that you're probably going to be getting it. Um, so let's talk about the legacy of Tolkien. And I'd like to again reintroduce, I am not ripping. I am not here to diss the man, okay, chat? I like his stuff. I like The Lord of the Rings. I love The Hobbit, chat. Not, if someone brings up that motherfucking trilogy, I will smack them, chat. I will find out where, no, I can't say that. not even in, I don't want to say that in jest, chat, because that's technically against TOS. But I will be so annoyed with you, chat. Yeah, you're not allowed to threaten to smack people. Not for realsies, sadly. I threaten to smack people all the time. Chat, I'm a pacifist, chat. I honestly really hate violence of any kind. Last time I had to fight someone, chat, two things. One, I almost broke their arm, and I decisively won that fight. And two, I was crying for like the next like 20 to 30 minutes, chat, because I was so sad. I didn't understand why they had made me hurt them. If the impression you're getting at this point, chat, is that my brain does not work on a 1-to-1 ratio with like the human mind, congratulations, chat. That is one of the basic, like, I guess, premises of my life. Premises? Fucking hell, chat. That's all like the basic facets of my life. Thank you. We'll say that. Um, so Tolkien is considered like the godfather of fantasy, right? We're all kids playing in Tolkien's playground. But Tolkien never meant to do that, chat. Tolkien specifically wanted to tell an Anglo Saxon fantasy story. It's why Middle Earth is like England, sort of. Like, I mean this, chat. Like, Middle Earth is kind of meant to be England in some way that I don't understand, and that I'm sure some some big Tolkien nerd can come by and yell at me about later. I don't have a place where you can yell at me yet, chat. If you guys start wanting to yell at me, randomly, I'll find a way for you guys to be able to yell at me. Um, I don't like that being there. We're gonna move that there. Um, I'm putting down like towns right now. Chat. We'll talk more in detail about like what the hell I'm actually doing with the map in the inobvious bits in a minute. Okay, chat. Okay. Um. So chat. So let's let's talk, chat, about Tolkien and his legacy and the fact that we're all playing in a sandbox. This means, chat, that almost everything in fantasy these days is pulled from Tolkien. Now, other sources have come into it. There has been a great sort of movement, I guess, to get some Eastern and some Oriental influences in there. Look at D&D's Monk. Look at stuff like World of Warcraft has the Pandurans, who were originally Japanese, and then they decided to make it Chinese. I assume that World of Warcraft would remain legal in China. I assume, chat. I don't know for sure, chat, but they were originally samurai pandas, and then they became. I don't actually know what the Chinese word for their medieval knights was, because that's what samurai were. Chat. They were medieval knights. For anyone out there who is like a super like Japanophile weeb kind of person who feels like insulted that I called them medieval knights. Look, I'm sorry, but sometimes the truth hurts, okay? They were medieval knights. Um, but that should not for you, for you who holds them up in such esteem, that should not diminish that should not diminish their interest or your interest in them, nor do I feel like it should diminish your love of them. There are people out there who are chivalry boos, I guess, like who love themselves some like knights, and I'm sure you could break them down even further, chat. Like you could have like Arthur booze and like Germanaboos, Holy Roman Romanaboos, or whatever, right? I'm I'm positive that those exist, chat. I'm 100% positive. If you are one of those, and you actually do have a term that you use to describe this, let me know. I actually genuinely like no, like seriously, I genuinely want to know what what the term is, chat. I'm sorry, chat. I'm crying a little bit. I genuinely want to know what the term is. Um, because that's the kind of stuff that fascinates me, chat. Um, but what this means, chat, is that we have this long, long history of fantasy chat that is all using the same five sources of myths and legends, chat. Hang on, chat. I gotta blow my nose. Hang on, chat. Hang on. Okay, I'm sorry, chat. It's gonna be one of these nights. It's gonna be. We're gonna get through this, chat. We're gonna get through this together, and I'm on fire. We're gonna get through this together, though, chat. I believe in you. I believe we are going to make it. So, so you have all these different culture. You're drawing from like the same pool of myths, right? Because, and I don't mean to say, do not let me suggest for a moment that there are not so many myths and so many unique and strange different like specific cultural myths. Like if you want to get into it, like you could get into the myths and legends of like the Basque province of chat chat I've forgotten what that country is called, chat. It's España, but I don't know what it is in English, chat. Chat, I can't. Do you know how frustrating it is, chat, not to have a first language? I speak all languages terribly, chat. Uh, Spain. It's called Spain. You could take the myths and legends you need to the Basque province of Spain, chat, and do something amazing with it. I appreciate that Game Freak has may have beaten you to the punch at this point. Speaking of which, I am all on board. I like Pokemon Violet, chat. I like the color better, but Scarlet is a way better name, chat. Scarlet is such a better name. And I'm wondering, well, if you like reds and blue, if you like purples and blues and greens, Felix, my Veator, why are you wearing a red suit? And the answer, chat, is because I look good in red. That is why. And I don't look look at chat. Look 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 at my scales. Look at my plating, chat. Look at these. They're, they're crystalline lattices that my body produces as a form of natural armor that may or may not have a sucrose based polymer structure. The first one of you to call me a bug gets it. I am not a bug. Bugs have 6 limbs. I don't have 6 limbs, chat. I have 8 of them. And no, that does not make me an arachnid. Arachnids have 10 of them, chat. Arachnids have 10 limbs, 8 legs, 10 limbs. In the case of some of them, 11 because they have a tail. I wish I had a nice whippy tail, chat. My tail is enormous and round. Anyway, if you can call it a tail. Um, what was it? Right, like you could take the myths and legends of like a single province and their own unique in anywhere in Europe, and take a unique spin on it and create something wonderful, right? But most settings don't do that, chat. Most settings Control C, Control V. And this is not to say that I think that's low effort. Okay, I am not. Anyone who's making a setting And you're just like, I just want like the standard fantasy, the now codified fantasy elves and dwarves and gnomes and goblins and fuck check goblins goblins Batiri, for those of you who speak Chelt, Batiri. Uh I just want that, and it's wrong of you to shame me. I'm not shaming you, whoever you are out there. This specific, you specifically, I am not shaming. I don't actually think it's low effort to create a world, even if it's in line with the codified ones, right? That's not a low effort activity. And I respect how much effort you must be pouring into that, you know? Because it's hard, Chad. It's so hard. Um, I'm not entirely. I'm used to my normal art programs, chat. This is a wonderful program. It's called Wonder Draft. It is 20 of your United States of America dollars. Um, or perhaps now 200,000 Soviet rubles. Something like that, I suspect at this point. Um, or maybe just 7,200 Norwegian kroner, with apologies to Beach. But chat, but Europe and the core of its myths and legends, not the specifics, chat, the core of them, have been plumbed over and over and over again, chat. And now we are increasingly, tabletop RPGs are increasingly data mining the myths and legends of Asia. Specifically, I think what is called the Far East. I don't know how your mapping system works, chat. I could tell you that it is like between hexes 00 and I want to say hexes 00 through CA in region 2. Yeah, region 2. Region 2. But I don't actually know like the whole like China, Japan, um Taiwan. There's other ones in there. Thailand, to a certain extent. Thailand is that's what you call South Asia, right? But like China, Japan, that whole Korea, that whole region. Is that North Asia? No, North Asia would also be the Soviet Empire, wouldn't it, chat? Yeah. Look, chat, I appreciate that they now identify as You know what, chat? I should respect a country's desire to identify as what it chooses. North Asia, I guess, would be Russia, and it's not Central Asia, chat, because for some reason Central Asia is like India or maybe Pakistan or maybe Afghanistan or maybe Iran, where an entire flock of seagulls lives. And flocks of seagulls live very heavily in Iran, chat, because flocks of seagulls go to wherever people Iran, and the people in Iran run so far away, chat. No apologies will be given. Um, but what this means, chat, what this means is that the element of surprise, of discovery, of exploration increasingly relies on not exploring the myths and stories of humanity, but on trying to come up with different variations on the same theme. Right, chat? Maybe with me here, maybe not. I don't know. Um, why is it? Did the music? I'm sorry, chat. I let the music lapse. I'm so sorry. I'm. I thought I had it set up to keep going, chat. I'm sorry. Like you'd think I'd know, because I'm listening to it too, chat. I'm listening to it too. I'm really bad at this some days, chat. Clearly what it is, I just need to automate it. I need to write a script to automate it, chat. Please don't make me do that, chat. I could do that. Don't make me. I don't want to. I don't want to, chat. I don't like scripting. I don't like scripting. Okay, there we are. That's an appropriate volume, right? Yeah, that's an appropriate volume. If you can't hear me over it, chat, uh, no, that I've had it muted the whole time, chat, haven't I? I've had it muted the whole time, I think. Um, well, okay, that I'm just doing poorly all over the place today, chat. That's fine. That's fine, chat. That's fine, chat. We'll just work with what we have, chat. And you'll forgive me this once. You'll forgive me this once. It's my fourth time out, chat. I still don't know what I'm doing yet. And it's just one of those days, chat. It's one of those days. Would you believe, chat? I spent a half hour making sure that everything was working right. I know you don't actually believe me, chat, but I genuinely was. And this is the result, chat. I'm very good at this. But basically, I have gotten bored, chat. I've gotten bored of exploring these myths and legends. Like, I know, chat. Oh god, I'm so sorry, chat. I'm trying not to vomit right now. Vanity will stop the stream. And no, chat, no, this is normal for me, chat. Remember how I mentioned that I used to eat human food, chat, and that wasn't the best thing for me? Now, like, I just don't work right, chat. I just don't work right. Now, a day at which I only almost throw up is a good day for me, chat. Like, this is my normal. Chat, I've done so much work in the bathroom, chat, where I've had a laptop, chat, and I've been doing my analysis between bouts of praying to the waste receptacle. Awful times, chat. Awful times. But I've gotten bored, chat. I don't want to create yet another variant on these stories, chat, because I could. I feel like so many people are already exploring that, chat. There's plenty there that I can go and look through and discover. I want to go somewhere where I haven't seen before, chat. And so, welcome to Ido. And Ido is a world. I guess it's a fantasy world. There's magic, chat. I don't know if magic makes a fantasy world or not. It's drawing heavily from the myths and influences of places that I don't feel like get talked about enough. Some super interesting stories, chat. This is from North to Southern Africa, this is Pacifica, and this is South America, as well as the giant island continent of Australia. Speaking of island continents, chat, did you know that every continent is an island, chat, technically speaking? This makes me incredibly happy, chat, to know that every continent is actually an island, because now I could legitimately say that Africa is an island, chat. I can say that China is on an island. Just try it, chat. Say that to yourself. See how fun it sounds. Not only to see how ridiculous it might sound, but to know that no matter how ridiculous, it's true, chat. It's true. So this is Ido. I don't have a name for this particular continent yet. This is one small section of the continent, chat. I've broken up into grids so that when I do detailed maps, I can do the detailed maps by grid, chat, instead of having to do it like randomly and have like half of them overlap and to redo my no. This makes it nice and simple. and then eventually I will print them out on like giant sheets of paper, and I will staple them all around my room and drive myself even more insane, chat. And what we're doing up here, chat, is I'm filling out this area. And this area, chat, it is a marshy highlands area. It's very wet. There's a lot of rivers, but it's a relatively high elevation, chat. And the water actually flows inland from the sea, so it's very briny near the coast. There's all these forests, and the big nation, chat, the big nation, which is down here, which is in this little blue area. The big nation over here, and it's very big. Like, this is a very, very big map, chat. I don't know if you... I have a unit measurement scale, but like, this is a very big world. That's like almost 1,000. That's 900 miles, chat. This is a very big area. Like, it's 900 miles across. I don't know, by like 900 miles. That's not north to south, is it, chat? It's not even a little bit. Like 800 miles. Okay. And you might be wondering, are the players going to start here? They're going to be here in or near the nation of Niwahisi. What's the other thing, chat? Also, North American myths and legends, because those don't get explored enough. And some of them are wild, chat. Did you know there is a, I'm so sorry if I'm getting this wrong. I don't have a good memory, chat. I want to say this is the Ethiopian region, chat. It's this legend of this giant bird. It can take the form of a beautiful young man who is also a bird. Which is, hot, first of all. Second of all, they can make lightning from their claws, chat. And they can be captured and used as familiars by witches and witch doctors for good or evil, chat. I wish I could remember what they were called, chat. I wish I could remember their proper name. They had a fantastic name. I know, like, part of it is, like, Yazulu, but it's, like, 2 words, chat. I'm so sorry, I'm making a complete hash of the whole mythology, but it's like, no one has made that. And they're intelligent, chat. Like, you could play one of these. It's like, you could have a human form and a bird form. This could be a player race, chat. I don't know that it will be in this world. But that's a myth I want to draw from in Ida. I want to see it have a presence here. Sorry for the punch on. I'm on the last dregs of the cough drop, chat. So chat. Let me rearrange how I'm sitting. Okay, so chat. The players aren't going to be starting here. I don't know what game is going to be the first game here. Currently we're playing a PF1 game. It's a Ragnarok story, basically. Ling, like the psionic, evil, destructive thing, has invaded the material plane and is imitating gods. And the players are trying to sort it out, chat. Badly. Very, very badly. They don't know what they're doing, chat. And that's probably... I'm having fun in part because the players don't know what they're doing. Which is not... It's not as... Which I guess for the players may be either comforting or disturbing, chat. I don't know. But... That's what's being run right now, chat. And I'm having a good time with it, chat. But that world is going to go away. There's going to be a follow-up campaign to that one. For epic levels, to finish out the story. But then it's going away because I don't like the world, chat. I don't like it because it's a bodged together, fairly standard fantasy world that I originally came up with as a backdrop to further a game that I had halfway designed, it was a 4X kind of a game. Because I'm an omni-obvious chat. I do a bit of everything, right? And so, chat, and so, this is a world that I've created not to replace it, but to have a world that could expand on, chat, that I could expand on and keep and maintain and work on and with, and run my games and watch it evolve with the players and the parties and the stories that are told in it. Because that's the point of having a world, isn't it, chat? For tabletop games, is to watch it evolve and change and grow as the players move through it. That is, I feel, the point of it, chat. And now, with a very natural segue, let's get into the thing that, now that you kind of understand where I'm coming from, chat, let's kind of get into, like, you understand, like, the backdrop and, like, what I'm doing in chat, I guess. Let's start talking, chat. Let's start talking about tabletop games. That was promised. And I'm in the groove enough now, chat. We can do this. I'm not crying anymore, chat. I've established kind of like my thoughts on fantasy. Sort of. Okay, no, I haven't fully. We'll finish that up, and then we're gonna get into like the systems, chat. So Ido is it is an industrial fantasy setting, chat. It's an industrial fantasy setting. There have been many ages before of the world. Some with higher technology, some with higher magic. Technology and magic are not fundamentally incompatible, chat, because I think that's played out. You can do nifty things with it, like I loved Arcanum. I think all of us loved Arcanum chat, right? But, Arcanum was basically a Fallout-like game, chat, set in a steampunk fantasy world. If you want to know more about it and don't mind spoilers, there is a playthrough review of it done by Warlockery that I will post on Twitter afterwards, right? Be like, hey, this is the thing this is Arcanum. You can go take a look at it here. Please do that, chat. Please do that if you don't know what it is. Warlockery, also great guy, Slavic activist, still not yet put in the gulag, makes amazing videos, very pleasing voice. 10 out of 10 would listen to again. You should watch them too, though. He's got some good editing little quirks and stuff. Anyway, chat. This is an industrial fantasy. And the industry revolves around the Cadia. Cadia are these crystalline growths that come from the other world and that are interconnected with the bloom. The bloom is this phenomenon that sometimes, chat, light produces the bloom. And when light produces the bloom, chat, things from the bloom come into the world. And this can be a bad chat sometimes. Things from the bloom aren't necessarily hostile, chat, but they are alien and strange and oftentimes very damaging to mortals, or to people. I don't think we have any super, like, immortal people around. Chat, I don't think we do. So I'm gonna say people. Immortals is just like everyone, chat. So chat. So, much of their technology is salvaged and brought back and cobbled together from the ruins of the previous age. This is the 13th age. No, this is the 14th age, chat. This is the 14th age. There have been 13 other ages before them. And people are doing their best to adapt to this strange new world where they find themselves, chat. People are adapting as best they can. And the players will have to make their way through it. And I have developed a survival system, chat, which means the players are going to need to, if they're out in the wilderness, worry about, like, food and drink and stuff like that. That might otherwise, hinder them. If they were to just continue on indefinitely, chat. And this is the world I'm really looking forward to playing. Oh, I'm sorry, chat, I need more water. Hang on. Chat, I might be overhydrating today. So, like, there might be more than one potty break tonight, chat. So, this is a world I'm actually super looking forward to playing in. It has different types of magic. The magics all come from different sources, chat. There's Kadean magic from the Kadea, because you can take these crystals, chat, and you can learn to harness their energy and use it to do spells, chat, or, run an engine that drives a carriage. It's up to you. It's up to you, chat. I had someone tell me that it's a little bit like Eberron. I'll be honest, chat. I have never actually gotten into Eberron. It's one of the things I regret, right, chat? I've never run an Eberron game. I've never played an Eberron game. I played the D&D MMORPG for about half a level, chat. Not Neverwinter, not the new one. The old one, which apparently was set in Eberron, but I never actually got a grip of the setting, chat. And I've been told it's kind of out there and wild and awesome, and I'm well into that, chat. But I never actually got into it, so I'm kind of sad about that. If anyone out there wants to run an Eberron game, and you want to play with a mad person as one of your party members, I would be open to playing in your Eberron game. Hit me up on Twitter, chat. Like, I am my groups forever GM, chat. I like to play games too. My favorite game that I ever played in was a Shadowrun game. Didn't last long. My second favorite game was a Exalted Solar campaign in which I became an Abyssal. Don't ask, it's a very long story. And it's not what we're here to talk about tonight anyway. We're here to talk about, like, this world. I promised 5th edition and Pathfinder 2e, chat. And I'm not here to I think it's called debating. I'm not here to debate you. So let's start getting into this. So chat, this started because I have a player. And me and this player, she and I, have different preferences. And one of the things, chat, is that I don't consider my home d20 systems, chat. I don't consider my home d20 systems. And I don't mean that in any negative way, chat. I've played 3rd edition. I've played 3.5. I missed 4th edition, chat, because I was not playing. I didn't have a group then, chat, either to GM for or to play with, chat. So I completely missed 4th edition, which, okay, chat, not gonna lie, I regret missing 4th edition, but I won't actually run a 4th edition game, chat, because everything is so, like, homogenized and, like, game balanced, and I don't care for the art style and the aesthetics of it, chat. But I was really interested in it, like, mechanically as a game, chat. It seems fascinating, but unfortunately, you know, the war between Hasbro and Namco Bandai meant that no D&D 4th edition video games were produced, which is a shame because I feel like that would have been the perfect addition to make a video game, chat. What do you think? I think so. Also, chat, I appreciate, like, I'm moving a mile a minute tonight, right? But if you say something, I promise I won't ignore you. So that is just a general throwing that out there. If you feel the urge to say something, and you're worried, like, will she just ignore what I have to say? No, chat, I would never do that to you. But anyway, so I'm disappointed in that, chat. I'm deeply disappointed in that. And then we had 5th edition, chat. And I haven't played 5th edition, chat, but I have the source books for it, chat. And I've been reading it, and there's a lot of stuff I like from it. Our current game, chat, is a Pathfinder 1 game. PF1. PF1. And I like PF1 well enough, but it's not my favorite system. It's typically designed. I'm sorry, chat. I'm still a little barfy. It's designed for sword and sorcery, and I don't really run classic sword and sorcery games, chat. Like, it'd be nice to... No, it wouldn't be. I lie. It's not that I hate them, chat. I don't hate them. Don't feel like I'm attacking your favorite genre if you love the sword and sorcery, chat. It's just that I typically am interested in, I guess, more offbeat kinds of worlds. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. My worlds, chat, are probably about as weird as I am. But we'll get into that, like, in a minute. We'll get into that in a minute. And we have Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which I have run. I have run Pathfinder 2nd Edition at this point. And some of my views on it may have been hinted at when I called it the most polarizing system that I've ever touched, chat. And do you know why, chat? Do you know why? It's not because I think it's bad, chat. It's because I think, like, anything I encounter in a chat, I either love it, like the 3-action economy basis system, or chat, I despise it. Like, okay, you know what? The stuff I despise, we're going to have to get into in more detail, chat, because it's not a single thing exactly. It's because Pathfinder 2nd Edition is designed to do one thing, and one thing only. It's designed for you to go dungeon some dragons, chat. And that's cool. but it makes it more difficult if you want to run a game that's focused on like skill interactions and working with people. And yes, I know some people out there are already saying, well, yes, of course you don't have that kinds of games. You're a girl. You're afraid of combat and numbers. To them I say, bitch, please. I do dungeons. I have boss fights. It's just that can't be all the game is. It's not as interesting that way, chat. You might disagree. You might like it, Dungeons and Dragons, or tabletop games, is nothing more than a tabletop version of a hack and slash video game. And you know what? Legit way to play. No scorn from me. But that's not what I like, chat. I like to see my players interact with the world, chat. I like to see them interact with the world, and I like to watch them explore and uncover and have to figure out creative solutions to problems. That's what I like, chat. And so that's kind of how my games work, right? That's kind of how my games work. So, Pathfinder 2E, none's good for that. And it comes in tiny little ways. Like the removal of C and D. Oh, there's C and B and C and D. There's one thing that I actually went back and forth on this for a long time, chat. I didn't hate the removal, but I liked it better. I liked it better in Pathfinder 1, chat. Because it meant that for all this nonsense, there was a single stat I could grab, chat. And that single stat made it very easy, chat. That doesn't look good, does it? No. That's for different things, but damn it. Dang it, no. Okay. Chat, I have messed up. Okay, we have fixed it, chat, we fixed it. Okay, chat, so chat. No. Yeah, that. So chat, so that's kind of where I am with like with Pathfinder 2nd Edition. But it does great, it does amazing. The thing that gets me a little bit, like I like most of their concepts, but it's always the implementation of them I feel is super awkward, chat. Like, the whole feats per level up thing, great. I always believed that the classes should be more choosy more regularly. It shouldn't just be, oh yeah, I've taken this particular archetype and that makes me a little bit different than other members of my class. No, chat, no. We can do better than this, chat. We can do better than this. We can do better than this, and we will do better than this. And the whole thing, chat, like the whole notion of, like, choosy classes, excellent. However, like so many, I get almost no core class features now. Not liking that so much. And then you have, like, the reaction system works great, but then you do stuff where it makes you feel, like monks just get to attack twice in a combat. Kinda because they just do it every turn. They spend one of their actions and then just attack twice at full bonus, I think. And it's kind of like, or is it that D&D 5th edition is the one where it's like always full bonus? You'll correct me, chat. I know you'll get me. You'll get me sorted on that, chat. And that's it's intriguing. D&D Pathfinder went much more like you have one class, right? And you can multi-class by choosing to take feats from a different class. Which, I do want to say, I sort of feel is a better way of doing multi-class than traditionally, right? I kind of feel like that. But at the same time, multi-classing is one of those tricky ones, chat. It's very, very tricky. And it's very, very tricky because there's so much, such a balancing act there, chat. Such a balancing act there. Because you can, the problem, chat, is people who like to min-max, or as they put it, play most optimally. And here's the thing, I don't necessarily begrudge those kinds of people what they do. Because there's a certain joy, chat, there's a certain joy in playing optimally and knowing that you have a really awesome thing going. I'm not gonna lie, there is. I get like that on Warframe. Although not entirely. I like to take concepts, chat, and then see if I can make them work. But, chat, the problem with doing this is it can make characters, some characters, vastly more powerful than others, chat. And that can make a table feel bad, or make people at a table feel bad. It can cause all kinds of problems, because if you have someone who is effectively like as strong as everyone else would be at level 10 and the person's at level 6, how do you combat balance that, chat? Because you kind of don't, I guess. That's kind of the problem here, chat, I think. And I think that's what they're trying to address some with the way that they did this multi-classing stuff. And I can appreciate that, chat. I can appreciate this. But taking abilities and spells from another class, while cool, is also ignoring some of the other stuff that the class does. But that said, I kind of like that. And that's something that I wish you could keep and do for 5th edition. 5th edition multi-classing is kind of weird, chat. Like, all of your stuff stacks together, all of your spell slots stack together and stuff. I don't quite grasp it right, chat, and I'm sure it's probably pretty obvious. But the thing I like about 5th edition, chat, is, the thing I like about both of them is their attempts to squish the numbers some, but I think 5th edition did it better, chat. If you're gonna have a number squish in there. And chat, the thing I like about the 5th edition is that each class kind of comes with these nice little archetypes that refer to a certain section of that like build on a certain fantasy or theme. But on the other side, chat, you can mix and match those in Pathfinder 2nd edition. They're not as, at least for me, they're not as clearly communicated, chat. I think there's one damning thing I'd say about Pathfinder Second Edition. I struggle to understand those source books, chat. And some people have been like, they're really easy once you understand what they're talking about. And my response to them is like, yes, but that's the problem. I don't understand what they're talking about, and the books are not helping me understand what the books are talking about. D&D 5th edition, I feel like I read the books, I understand what the books are talking about. On the flip side, though, D&D stuck with a classic like race, design, combination, chat. They stuck with a classic race design thing, and that's old hat, chat. That's old hat, and I feel like you can do better in today's age. Also, can I say, chat, and this is gonna sound weird coming from me, D&D 5th edition, this big push towards inclusivity, chat. This big push towards inclusivity, and I don't blame them for trying, I just don't think it worked very well, because the books feel so disconnected from, like, the actual established setting of, like, the Forgotten Realms and Faerun. It's like Faerun wasn't designed, by and large, as a very diverse setting or culture, and it feels weird to see all these diverse cultural influences and settings in the core rulebooks. Now, don't get me wrong, I love them. I think they're fantastic, but it gives the package as a whole a disjointed feel. Like, I feel like the core player handbook for 5th edition is for a way more interesting setting than Faerun. And I would like to see that setting, chat, but that's not the setting they're presenting. The setting they're presenting and doing all the games for is Faerun. So it kind of gives this weird, like, did you not want to make them match? You know? Did you not want to make them match the wizards who live by the coast? But again, personal views, right? Pathfinder has always had this weird setting diversity thing going on in Golgarian. Look, chat, Pathfinder setting is fucking insane and I love it. It takes place on this one world that has gates to the other planets of the solar system where other people live and sometimes just come over and they're like, hey, we're here now. There's like a planet that some super advanced civilization landed on, built androids on, and now they're just here. You know, whatever. They're just androids walking around. It's like their whole thing. They've included like this wide, diverse selection from the start in terms of styles and looks and things like that, chat. And I feel like that has really like aided them as they have. Oh, I'm so sorry, chat. I'm still pretty barfy. I feel like that has really aided and assisted them as they have, like, moved for further inclusivity in terms of, like, gender expression, identity, that kind of thing. Right? Because since they already had the fundamentals of diversity, it's easier to add more diversity where you already start having some diversity, where you haven't like created an entire world that is the parts of it that you explore are homogenous, and these parts over here are representative of a nearby culture that is designed to be so exotic. Because then you can't put the diversity in the super exotic parts, chat. Because that's kind of, what am I doing, chat? This is supposed to be lush. Because if you put all the diversity in the super exotic parts, you're basically marginalizing and tokenizing it, chat. But trying to include diversity where you haven't designed any diversity to be, and then just wedging it in there anyways, chat, that's really awkward. And I feel like it's part of why. Not all of it, because I'm sure some people out there are like, I remember I just wanted my fantasy where everyone was, you know, like the old school, where all men were real men and all women were scantily dressed and stuff like that. I'm, 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 I'm strawmanning no one in particular, chat. I don't really think there's people out there who are exactly like this. But there's some people out there who probably feel something like this. They just wanted their classic, like, Conan-esque fantasy world. And they're annoyed because what kind of leaned that way, chat, is now suddenly being... Okay, here's the thing, chat. Diversity is not a bad thing. Stupidity is a bad thing, chat. I feel like Wizards of the Coast chose to include diversity in a stupid way. If you genuinely hate diversity, then yeah, you're a goober and you have some issues. But if you hate because if you don't like it, not hate, but if it irks you because they've kind of meshed these two things that are fundamentally not compatible together with not enough lore explanations, then yeah, I get it. But the changes they needed to have in Faerun for it to be really a diverse setting that was more representative of the current zeitgeist down on your planet, or frankly of any society that allows its members the freedom to dictate their own, to not only dictate, but are willing to acknowledge and accept the fact that there are members that have different expressions of orientation and gender. Like to go from not that to that and merge the two together without like really acknowledging that that's what you've done. That's kind of weak, chat. That's kind of weak. Like, because a setting isn't just whatever you say, chat. And I think that's something that GMs need to be aware of. A setting is like a living, breathing creature. And the players are aware because people live in a world, chat. When your world doesn't make sense, people start to notice, chat. And that's one of the things you need to try and avoid. It's called ludonarrative dissonance, I think. Assuming I'm right about that. I am 99% sure I'm wrong about that, chat, but I'm going to keep going with it on the off chance that I am correct. But ludonarrative dissonance, like where you just fling a player's immersion out of the door, chat. And I feel like that's kind of what Wizards of the Coast have set themselves up for in the future. And not liking that and going back to the more comprehensive, but admittedly a lot more limiting or a lot less inherently diverse, like 3.5 edition of Faerun. Yeah, I can understand that. Or if you've been running a version of Faerun that has been diverse for like the last 10 years, and Wizards of the Coast has just now caught up, and you're just like, well, I don't want to use their changes. Can't I just, we've already made them. Just, that's fine, chat. Homebrew is 100% okay. And in fact, homebrew needs to exist everywhere. Homebrew is the difference between everyone running the same campaign the exact same way, and it becoming a unique adventure for your table, chat. So yeah, don't be afraid of homebrew. Just know that your first several homebrews are going to be kind of bad, chat. I accidentally homebrewed a boss. Made a boss using a homebrew class, not one of mine, but I had a lot less understanding of the system, and it was very imbalanced, chat. And I apologized to my players afterwards. It was like, I'm sorry. I will be more careful with that in the future. But hey, you guys won anyway, so congratulations. I'll give you some extra experience points because that was bullshit that I didn't need to have happen. So, so, chat, I feel like this is something you could probably run in either one, but I decided that I didn't want to run this in 5th edition or 2nd edition. I didn't want to. Oh, I'm sorry, chat. I'm tired. I didn't want to run this in 1st edition Pathfinder either. So what's happening, chat, is there's a Franken game being made. Where we're taking some rules from 5th edition, some rules from 2nd edition, and some rules from 1st edition. We're just kind of using them. And the thing, chat, is with this setting. And I know the answer is because of insane, chat. The answer for the question I'm about to ask is because of insane. But I'm going through and I'm redoing every class, chat, to kind of like match up with how I want it to be portrayed in this setting. And if you're wondering why, it's because I'm insane. But it adds something, doesn't it? I'm not opposed to like using other archetypes and stuff like that. But nominally, chat, it will be compatible with probably 5th edition and 2nd edition Pathfinder, and maybe 1st edition if you do some work. One thing I felt like was kind of an amazing thing, chat, was the number switch. And here's why, chat. Playing Pathfinder 1st edition, and the numbers are getting out of control, chat. The numbers are getting very out of control very quickly. How out of control is out of control, chat? One of my players has like the ability to make like a perform check that averages around like 52, and they're like level 16 or 17, chat, right? And so I like this idea of like you squish the highs, chat, and you bring up the lows. You squish the highs, you bring up the lows. And you see what you can do to even out the game and make it so that it's a lot less power curvy. There will always be a power curve, right? But I feel like one of the big responsibilities that GMs have is kind of trying to mitigate that power curve feeling, chat. Where you feel more powerful, but you don't feel like you have become God. Yeah, I'll stick with it. Because when you start feeling like you become God, chat, it kind of ruins the game a little bit, because it starts making it feel like everything that genuinely opposes you must be using some level of bullshit, because you start forgetting that you're basically powered by bullshitanium at that point, right? I'm not keen with any of this, chat. It's going the way I want it to. Okay, trees. I can just get rid of the trees. Okay. So that's why it's so much worse for like monsters to have what feels like bullshit than it is for players, because you are the players, chat. And that's something important to not forget. And it's something that I feel like 5th edition actually balanced masterfully with chat, with the inclusion of lair actions. It's one of my favorite things from 5th edition, chat. is the idea that monsters in like their own home base just have special shit that they can do like a couple of times. And oh, those are big. And I love it, chat. And I love it because, chat, because it gives monsters this very unique flair, this very unique feeling. And it lets them stand out aside from being a stat block. If there's something I would criticize 2nd edition Pathfinder for, it's it playing it. So many things to me feel like a stat block and not like unique. Now, I will say this is just using the core rulebook and the advanced player's guide, chat, as well as the one book the Tinkerer comes from. I think it's called like Pistols and something, chat. I don't know. Don't at me, okay? This is I don't know names, chat. I don't know names. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna fail your chat. Today's my Marvin Day, chat. If you don't know who Marvin is, chat, Marvin is Marvin the Paranoid Android. He's your plastic pal who's fun to be with, who's made of steel. And he is a manically depressed robot in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I'm feeling a bit of Marvin today, chat. I'm feeling a bit of Marvin. So, chat, but like, monsters need weird shit to make them stand out. They need to not just be like, you face a wolf. Okay, awesome, it's a wolf, it can bite. You face a Zanivergoth. What can it do? It can also bite you. Like 3 levels later, you face a Zanivergoth. It's the exact same as a wolf, but with bigger numbers. And that's one thing as a GM, Pathfinder 2nd edition, that like it was very numbery to me, and I'm not into that. I deeply favor the idea, chat. I deeply favor the idea that you should have less, more interesting encounters in your game than more duller encounters. You don't need an encounter every session, in fact. Like, those can be fun, chat, they can be nice, but you don't need to have a combat encounter every session, or even the threat of one. And that's something that I really genuinely feel like 5th edition does better than Pathfinder. I feel like it has a better skill setup. I feel like its advantage system makes it much easier to enable different kinds of interactions outside of combat. The advantage system is one of my favorite things from Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, by the way. It's something that I'm keeping when I run games in Ido. And like, if you guys are like into Ido, if you guys like it as you see it develop, and if I can actually make friends, I'll see about making some friends, and maybe I'll see about hosting a game on here. Chat, I think I'd really enjoy that. hosting a game in Idaho on here. I'm currently working at the region around the Ash Plains in Idaho. The Ash Plains is the location of the Kapalan, or the Kapala civilization, and they're an interesting lot. They are descended from outsiders and people who live there natively, Chad. And their civilization largely, it's kind of split into a couple of factions. There's the Ashlanders, there is the Empire, and the Empire has two basically the same factions. There's one that's like, yes, we're making a go of it here, we're doing all this, and there's another that genuinely believes, it's a very, very religious faction of a particular kind of religion at least, that they should be reactivating the vessel that brought them here, Chad. At least it's the vessel they think brought them here, Chad. Whether it is or not is much more open for debate. Their capital's over in, what is this called? Blackfire Mountain Sika. It is Halramark is their capital, Halramark. Oh no, wrong one. The thing I like from Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and this might sound weird, but it's the way they do their critical hits, actually. We're doing a quick, I maybe use that one. It's the way their critical hit system works, Chad. I actually super like the way their critical hit system works. Oh, those are big uns. I like the way it works, chat. I like the +10, -10 sort of nature of it, chat. Uh-oh. I made a mistake, chat, because those are clouds, and they're not colorable, chat. Okay, well, here we go. I don't know if clouds and mountains are the same thing in this program. I still highly recommend this program, though. I'm not sponsored by Wonderdraft, although if the person who made Wonderdraft would like to sponsor me for it, I'd be happy to. It's a program I actually use and enjoy very much. But, right, the critical hit system for Pathfinder 2E. Love it. The thing I like about it, Chan, is that it lets you separate critical hits from nat 20s and lets you differentiate them, which I think could be fun and interesting in a game. You may disagree, and that's fine. Ooh. But I feel like it adds interesting texture. Just one. In addition, I feel like it means that you can do things for critical hits that are more interesting. I actually like, don't get me wrong, I actually like Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I like what they did with making it so that you don't have to confirm criticals anymore. And that was something I adopted for my own home games, because I feel like confirming criticals is kind of a bit of a, I feel like it's unnecessarily fidgety, chat. And I'm sorry to all the old schoolers who like to confirm crits and um you guys do you, right? Like, don't let me stop you from following your bliss. But I don't like to confirm crits because I feel like it makes it more interesting if you can critically hit a little bit more often. It makes it more exciting. And it should be exciting, chat. This is a game where we're trying to all have some fun, right? It's a fantasy. We're all trying to escape at least a little bit here. Um, so that's kind of where it is. Also, chat, I'm gonna run a poll like all this week, and I want you to tell me like should these be tabletop RPGs or should these be art? I don't know. I was touring very heavily. Like I feel like I was pretty explicit in the description about what I was doing today, but I don't know, chat. So, on balance, I don't necessarily feel like either one of the systems is better than the other. I don't know if people were waiting around for me to like say, like, oh, this system's better, this system's better. No, I don't think that. I think which one do I prefer between the two of them is neither, chat. They both have upsides and downsides. And I have to admit, I don't like anyone's upsides better than downsides overall. Which one do I think I'd probably run? Probably 5th edition. Because Pathfinder is so heavily focused on let's get back to the dungeon. Like, it compresses all out of dungeon stuff into just downtime chat. And, like, not super feeling that look, you know? Not super feeling that look. So I'd probably run a 5th edition game before grant another 2nd edition game. 2nd edition game, actually, for Pathfinder is what prompted the creation of all of this, chat. It's actually what prompted the creation of all of this because the people I was playing with, we weren't super having fun, chat. We loved parts of it. Oh my goodness. But parts of it we weren't into, chat. Parts of it we weren't into. Oh goodness, chat. I'll be honest with you, I feel slightly wretched. But anyway, chat. Anyway. This is kind of how it's going, how it's coming together. Audio is going to be where I do all of my games, like my d20 games, that aren't like specific other like weird options. Like I have this idea for a roguelike game, but that actually might go into Ida. I don't know. There is someone who I know who's a streamer, chat. I might talk to them, I might see who else is around, reach out to some people, talk to them, maybe see if I can get some people who would be keen to maybe, look into this. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to shrink this. I'm gonna have to shrink the font, chat. I really am. So that's what we have to say. One thing I love about Pathfinder 2nd Edition, though, was the way they did, like, all of their race background stuff, right? They don't have races anymore, chat. Which, okay, chat, let's be honest. Race is the wrong word for it. unless you want to suggest that these are all actually types of humans, chat. I don't know if you're trying to do that or not, chat. But, like, that's not what you should call the term chat. The term is species, right? And I can see people making the argument, but that kind of sounds more science fiction-y. To which I respond, then you shouldn't have made that word biologically. Well, I don't know if that's enough, chat. Yeah, that's okay. 8 is gonna have to be an 8-point chat. This is the nation of Niwahisi that I am doing things for, which is a it is a religious state, chat. It's run by what is it run by, chat? Hang on, I have a note here. It's run by the Ipaho. The Ipaho are I guess you'd call them these vampiric. They're something that people can become. They are like insectoid vampires. And this is actually based out of a myth, chat. This is based out of a myth. Out of the Ew? It's EWE, chat, and I don't know how you say that right. The Ew traditions of Adze. But they are a thing, chat. And they are basically the ones who run the whole thing. Most magic in general is not, it's not encouraged in the area, chat. Not encouraged. Okay, but some parts are allowed. They have this society that they have made through being these very heavily like stratified, very heavily regimented and role-based society. While peak roamers, who are more liberal, they're small communities, who are kind of allowed, like official heretics, because they can do dangerous stuff, and they're a good source of slaves, chat. They're a good source of slaves. Because unfortunately that's the kind of people that they are. Slavery is not a chattel slavery system, but I'd never say that I wouldn't say any slavery is good, chat. Right? Like, no slavery is good. Yes. Another fan of culture, I see. Yeah. No slavery is good slavery, chat. Like, ideally you have no slavery. But this is not chattel slavery. This is usually like, hey, we have discovered you, and because you are outlaws, and we know you're outlaws because you're living outside of our society, therefore you are outlaws and exiles and heretics, we are now going to arrest you and make you do hard manual labor for us, like a year or something, and then we'll release you back out to the wilderness. They're very progressive like that. They like to release people. Chat, they like to release people, so that they can be captured and made to work as slaves again. But this way, see, if you release people, chat, and I'm not saying this is like what all of society thinks, this is like what this is what the Epaho, who are the leadership, at least know, even if they don't acknowledge, is that, oh no. Okay. Is that, you know, if you let these communities survive and thrive enough, you have this convenient pool that you can pull from to do your dirty work. And many of them some degree of magical knowledge. Oh, I actually closed that. Oops. So, like, you need someone to do some magic for you that, you know, you don't really support. You can go and get it from an outside source and treat them as a contract worker. Slave, I guess. They don't actually do contracts, Chad. They're very regimented, though. They have very, very distinct... Keep hitting the wrong shortcut, Chad. They have very, very distinct... You can just go there. Very, very distinct socio-gender roles, Chad. And their belief system backs this up. Now, before I manage to offend anyone, their belief system is not based on any particular human belief system, okay? This is not a commentary. That's what I mean, chat. Remember I was talking about legends and stories you tell yourself? And that I loved not any culture in specific, but the way that you are and the things that humans do. And I love to look at it and explore and see it. Well, chat, this is what I mean. Okay, I didn't throw up. That's good. What I mean is that this isn't about a religion, chat. This isn't like a stand-in for Zoroastrianism or I don't know, Sikhism or Shintoism or voodoo. It's not a stand-in for any of that, chat. It's just an examination of the way some cultures handle their religions and the way that some people use the notion of a religion and the notion of propriety to shape a culture or to impose certain kinds of order. That's all it is, chat. There's like no one I am talking about in specific. I'm just talking about humanity as a whole. I think I'm gonna put Chawi here, chat. Like, I have names for cities and things like that, and have some information about them. I have information about these cities both geographically and some based on their names. I'm gonna put Chawi here, chat. This way, if you're ever between Chowi and Chawi, it's gonna be very confusing if you're not very familiar with which one is, because they're gonna be in completely opposite directions. Like, one's to the north, one's to the south. And I feel like that might gently confound the players, or possibly lead them in, like, some kind of adventure that they weren't expecting going the wrong direction. I might be mean, chat. I don't know. I love my players, chat, but I might be a very mean person sometimes. I just like to play pranks, chat. And then you might be like, well, why did you name something Three Forks if all of them have these other names? And I did that, chat, for the same reason that you have cities that are like, you have a city that's like named like Duluth or Chicago, but then you'll have a city named Los Angeles, which is just the Angels. sorry. Or you'll have a town that's named like Junction somewhere, right? That's why, chat. Is because I appreciate that this is not an English world, chat. I mean that like linguistically. So the names, their actual names, are gonna be different, but the names that are just like, oh yeah, that is the thing that is the Three Forks. Why is it called Three Forks? Because it's the intersection of three forks in the river. Those should be the same because that's the way human beings are. Just because the word for three forks, might happen to be Weenie Makapi, that doesn't mean that I shouldn't label it as three forks so that the players experience it as three forks. Because if they know the language or anything about the local language, they'll know that it means three forks. But they'll know that, like, Chovy is like the same as, like, Burgessville or something. I don't know if there's a place called Burgessville, chat. But, like, in case there is, I am both so sorry and so excited that you live in a place called Burgessville. Again, the city that I've always wanted to be a name uh, is Burgermeister. And this comes from, do you remember those old puppet stop motion Christmas Carol videos, Chad? It's okay if you were born too late and you don't know what I'm talking about even in the little bit slightest, right? That's okay. So it was like Thunderbirds, but for Christmas, Chad. And I've always wanted chat. Oh, I can't go below an 8. That's gonna be tricky, chat. I guess I'm not gonna do the smaller settlement names on the big map, but I guess that makes sense. I guess it makes sense, chat. But, oops. But, chat, where was I, chat? Chat, help, I lost my train of thought. Oh, right, chat, right, okay. Where I was, chat, was talking about, like, the race system, chat, from Pathfinder. The ancestry legacy, hereditary, heraldry. I don't know what they called it, chat, but it was good. It let you pick a species, then pick a particular population of that species. And I was like, yes, that is what I have always wanted. In fact, in a game that I am working on with a friend, we're building a game, chat, to try and help humanity maybe be a little bit better prepared for what's out there. But chat, but in that, like, you pick the same way. And I've always liked those kinds of systems where it's like, can I just say something, chat? I hate humans in D&D. I'm a human. I get a free feed at first level. No, you motherfucking don't. Have you taken a good look at yourself, humanity? I am so sick of this goddamn trope that humans are best at everything, that you're the most adaptable species. No, you fucking aren't. You happen to be one of the more adaptable primate family members on your planet because you can use tools to adapt your own environments around you. That does not mean you just inherently have a natural knack at, a random skill or trait. Evolution designed you to do a thing. Humanity, you are designed to be endurance hunters. That's what evolution designed you to do. You're endurance hunters with amazing throwing gripping power. That's okay. Okay, I am personifying evolution here, and I know that this is wrong, right? Because designed, you're right, Chad. Designed is a very strong word. Created into is the correct word. Created into, Chad. Created into. Um, I need these symbols like at the top, Chad. That's why I'm doing this. Okay. It's gonna be like a +3. Okay. Okay, so designed may be strong word. Designed may be a strong word. But that's what you became under evolution's tender guidance. Under evolution's brutal, bloodthirsty regime of absolute death. Because any species that's alive today has crawled itself atop on your planet, atop like a billion-year corpse pile of everyone who didn't make it. Okay? Are you happy now, chat? With the sheer raw violence of the state of the universe is such that my own intermittent desire to kill everyone around me would be as nothing compared to all of the animals that did not make it through the evolution's the absolute meat grinder that is evolution. Okay, hopefully you are now safe in chat, and I have appealed to your human instincts for bloodlust. I think sometimes, chat, sometimes I think I'm a pacifist. Sometimes I think I'm a pacifist, so that I'm not a mass murderer. But then there are other times. Uh, so if you wonder what I'm doing now, like when I'm playing these boxes are like known adventure sites and dungeons that I want to talk about, explore, do things with. And I'm excited about them. Where was I? Billion-year corpse pile, blah blah blah, chat, being chat. I didn't increase the layer priority of that one. Okay. That's okay. Do that later. Okay. But I loved the way Pathfinder 2E did it. I also really, really like that Pathfinder 2E has like this racial feat thing. Which I'm not crazy about the name, frankly, but that you can take additional like traits of your ancestry as you level up, like to show that you're like a real paragon of whatever species you are. So yeah, that's kind of that. Um, I was thinking about Chad. I was thinking about embarking next uh, on like the idea of world theming and homebrew, maybe, or maybe talking about the systems like a little bit. We will see how it goes. Um, but I'm going to take a little bit of a break, chat. Okay, a little bit of break because my body is having a serious problem. I don't know what it is, but I want to be next to a toilet whenever it has it. I should be back. I should be back in like 10 minutes, chat. 15 at the most, I hope. If if it's gonna take a while, chat, I'll come back and I'll let you know and I will end the stream early. But I hope to see you soon, chat. I hope to see you soon. And enjoy have a wonderful time with yourselves until I return, chat. Hmm. Hey, hello again, Chad. We are back and we're running again. I was worried for a little bit that I might actually not make it back here, like legitimately. Um, but my body has at least kind of relented. I've taken some medication, and I'm still up and running, although maybe you wish I wasn't. Um, so, so, uh, let us, let us continue. Um, I don't remember where I was beforehand, and unfortunately, that's one of the things that these kinds of breaks will sometimes do to me. Right, I think we were talking about we talked about theming and homebrew, and like this horrible amalgamation I'm trying to build up. Um, uh, yeah, that's not looking too bad right now, Chad. It's not looking too bad. Um, okay, so here's what we're gonna do, Chad. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna set down some stuff and like expand it out and do that. And I'm gonna talk to you some. I'm gonna talk to you about like world theming. Because one thing that we've kind of become inured to, Chad, is that fantasy comes in two flavors. It comes in Dungeons and Dragons, and it comes in Final Fantasy. And like, I don't know about, oh, whoops, I don't know about you, but I feel like we can probably do more than that, Chad. Like, I feel like we can explore other flavors. Okay, I have a color here. Cool. Um, I think I want to do something where there is water that comes in here to a certain extent. I like that idea. Um, I also like the idea that down here is like this very big like plains. The world theming. You know what game had amazing world theming, Chad? And I'm serious, Final Fantasy X. Like everything there was very Pacifica, very Southeast Asian. And I feel like that was well done then, right? And I feel like Chad, I feel like with all of that, um, one thing that doesn't really get touched on, and I always want to try and explore, because Europe gets themed a bunch, right, Chad? We've had all kinds of variations. We've had Spain, we've had Anglo-Saxon. That's fair. To be fair, though, Pern was actually fairly strongly medieval Europe themed, though it was still very European themed. They had big castles. They had feudal lords and peasants. It was just, instead of like the feudal lord coming into town on his horse to look at the peasants working the land, the feudal lord swoops in on his dragon to look at the land. Also, kind of like a weirdly, if I remember right, because it's been yonks, Chad. I seem to remember it being like a slightly sexist series where like women, and this I don't know if this is the author or if this is a reinforcing the attitudes of the setting, right? But like I don't remember there being any women dragon riders except for the one, Chat. I don't remember who they were. I do seem to remember that your dragon was always the opposite sex as you, except in like one case where this runty. Okay, okay. So I'm not like going crazy on that. Okay, good. This area like loops up through here, and we'll have like that here. I remember the white dragon. I don't know what you're saying, chat, but I know what you mean. And yes, because of the soul bond. So like when you got frisky, your dragons got frisky. It was very weird. Pern was wild, chat. Um, as Douglas Adams proved, there's nothing like quite as sexy as a tremendous fire breathing lizard going off in the sky. Uh, I feel like there should be like some sort of weird like the Furlornus fire dragons, chat. Douglas Adams talked about them in So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. Come on, chat, get with the program. Now there was a man who could have made it out here, chat. Douglas Adams. I think he's gonna be like scrub here. Um Furlornus fire dragons are supposed to be like unbearably sexy, just like having them flying around and dragging it up, right, chat? Also, fun fact, chat, fun fact. The initial game that I ran in this setting took place right down here in that little circle. So there's that. But chat, um, the Furlorn's fire dragons were kind of like made extinct over time, and there's none that exists today. But like the Forlornus Tourism Board still keeps like perpetrating about their myth, basically because they make such good like promotional tourist material. Um. Anyway, chat. Anyway. Uh. Yeah. So I guess in a way this is sort of stealth sci-fi fantasy, but maybe not. Maybe it's kind of like Final Fantasy X in a way, but maybe not. You have yes, exactly that, chat. I can tell that you guys are no stranger to doing that. That's like humanity's big thing. I mean, some people would argue that false advertising is the primary basis by which all of your relationships work down there, but I am not that cynical. I have faith that at least 5% of your relationships are purely about money. So chat. So I'm gonna sneeze. Hang on, chat. Hang on. Let me mute myself real quick. Okay. Sneeze is gone, chat. Okay. So, um, um, are you fucking serious? There is a streamer sneeze wiki. What the actual fuck, chat? Oh my god. This is someone's thing, isn't it? Someone out there, this is their thing. It's hearing streamers sneeze. Well, fine, and maybe I won't mute for any of my future bodily noises. You weirdos. Okay, where was I? Oh, right, chat, right. False advertisement. No, no, going back. Uh, so for the homebrew I'm planning, it's kind of no world theming. That's where we were. I can focus. I swear. Um. Uh. I want to theme this world after places that didn't get a lot of look in. Particularly Africa, Pacifica, Australia, and North America, of all things. Like South America, a little bit too, yes, because I'm kind of fond of South America. Um, but, 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 I don't, there's not North American legends, traditions, folk stuff, myths, and legends don't really get incorporated into anything all that well. I don't know if you've noticed, chat, especially not traditional ones. Like later on, uh, when colonists came over, they made up more of their own. Um, but the baseline of them didn't really get just get a lot of look in, really. Um, and I thought that might be a nice change with those four big ones. Um, I can't exactly say that there's no humans in this world. There are, but they're not called humans. They're called goey. Um, and one of the important things, chat, one of the main reasons that stuff is like this, because I had a player once ask me, why do you name all of your things these names? And I asked her, Chad, I asked my player, well, what kind of places do you think they are? And she said, I don't know. They all sound like, I mean, not to be racist, they all sound like, African places. And I'm like, well, yes, that's exactly why I named them all the weird names. And it's the thing I think that GMs need to pay a bit more careful attention to, chat. And here's why. Because, chat, unless there's a reason for it, you shouldn't have, like, a Johannesburg next to an Algonquin. You know, chat? You shouldn't have a Johannesburg next to an Algonquin next to a Rixis. Those are all, like, distinct because, chat, human beings have created for themselves different cultures. And in doing so, chat, in doing so, human beings have become, because human beings are good at understanding other humans, they have started to understand, oh, oh dear, chat. Okay, okay, I'm not throwing up. Um, Human beings have gotten great at understanding what different cultures are, chat, even if they don't actually know that's what they're noticing. My player, of course, like I haven't let on that I'm an alien. I don't show my face, chat, and that's how no one gets to know. Um, Big secret. Um, but chat, but Final Fantasy VII, not 7, 10, was extraordinarily well themed. They knew what kind of culture they wanted to portray. They knew what kind of trappings of civilization, modes of dress, and even to a certain extent rituals they wanted to have. And so while there's plenty of like just fantasy stuff that, is probably like somewhat rule of cool, that whole thing, right, chat? Much of Final Fantasy X's design aesthetic. And they did this again with Final Fantasy, I think it's 12, chat. The Zodiac Age. Yeah, 12. They did a great job making them feel like very different kinds of worlds, chat. And that's something that we as game masters, whether we're running D&D or Pathfinder or hell, even World of Darkness, or even one of those systems that no one's really heard about, like Dark Heresy, or I think it's called the Black Eye. Uh, we need to pay more attention to that, chat, because it's important to making our worlds feel coherent and feel like a place lived in. That's part of how you create that certain kind of je ne sais quoi that some games and settings seem to have and that others don't, chat. Um, and there's nothing wrong with not having that if you're not worried about that, if you're not trying to invoke a certain mood or feel. If you just want to get around the table, roll some dice, kill some monsters, you can do that. But if you want to have a long running campaign, these are issues that are going to start to come up, whether you intend for them to or not, chat. And it's something that you're going to have to pay attention to. And if you aren't a GM yourself, it's something that you should bring to light with your dungeon master, whoever they may be, and discuss with them. Let them know about, because it will be important for them to consider it. And in the best cases, chat, in the best cases, you and your dungeon master can consider it. Like, you should be, in a very different way than they are, helping to build the world with them by asking questions, by exploring, by probing at civilizations and societies that are there. And the thing is, chat, I know that says the Black Sea, chat. This is not a reference to like the Black Sea on Earth. It's a sea with dark water, chat, and you humans seem to like to think in things like that. There's dozens of like bodies of water that are called like the Black Sea or the Black Lake, like locally, not just that one. Um, oh, oh dear. Yeah, I don't know if I ate something that disagreed with me, chat, or if this is just one of those days. I suspect it's one of those days. I didn't do anything weird in terms of diet. Anyway, chat. So I'm gonna be stitching together this weird homebrew thing, and if I'm lucky, I'll get to run it, and my players will think it's wonderful because there's no better feeling, chat, than showing something to your players and then having them go, that is amazing. It's what I live for as a GM is gently blowing my players' minds, chat. Not hard, not to like make them explode with insight or fury or whatever, or rage or any of those other emotions or wonder, but make them go, wow, what a place. And there's one thing I think that Pathfinder 2E's mechanics lean into with the way it handles multi-classing, with the way it handles the different ancestries, with the way it handles so many things, with the way it handles critical hits, chat. I feel like Pathfinder 2E wants you to embrace those moments. And I feel like that's the thing I like best from it. And that even though I feel like D&D 5E is more the system that I want, Pathfinder 2E, the way they decided, like, yeah, you know what? We're not going to have separate spell lists for classes. We're going to have spell traditions, and classes either have a spell tradition or they select one. And that's the kind of magic they do. That's that was good. What I really want, chat, what I really want is I'm waiting for Pathfinder 3rd edition because I hope second edition is super successful, and I am gonna buy some of the books to show my support. But I want Paizo to do Pathfinder 3rd edition. I feel like that's the one that I am personally really waiting for. Also, in other random note though, D&D 5th edition is largely compatible with Magic the Gathering and all of its various settings. I think that was a really brilliant move on their part because I actually love some of the Magic the Gathering settings. Chat. I really like some of the Magic the Gathering settings. Chat. Um, uh, I haven't talked to my players about this yet, but like I'm like, do you guys want to do a setting set in one of the MTG universes? I know a few of them. We have I know Moroden pretty well. I know Kamigawa pretty well, and I know Ravnica pretty well. And I kind of like the looks of the current one, the Streets of Capella, I think is what it's called. Kapari, Streets of Kapari, maybe. And it's like this weird like gangster film, you know. That's pretty cool. But yeah, part of the reason why there's no such thing as inherent magic in my world, in Ido chat, is because of the theming. Like I don't personally care for it super much, but I don't it doesn't work with the story and with the setting that I'm trying to construct, chat. More than just I don't like it, grr, brr. It's because, chat. It's because to have inherent magic there is to put a force, chat, into the universe that is innately tapped into, that has a power all its own, that becomes an intrinsic part of the legacy of the species and cultures living in this world. And chat, that means that magic loses some of that necessity to grab it, to hold on to it, to seize it from the world, and to bend it to your will. That I feel is a very prevalent aspect of a lot of African magic traditions. Magic comes Yes, from you doing stuff, but you make little devices, and those devices actualize the magic. Even for this world, the most probably prominent form of magic is Kadia magic, magic that comes from these strange crystalline growths called the Kadia. You still need those to do the magic, chat. You still need those to do the magic. And all the other types of magic, chat. All the other kinds of magic. No, okay. All the other kinds of magic. The Hiwayan, the Nganeo, the Kea, the Achaki, they all come from things that you are wrestling with, grappling with, seizing and turning against the world. Rather than it being an extension of philosophy or the power of the Jinn or the innate force of the universe that through ritual and incantation you too can tap into. It becomes a thing of the world around you. And I want this to be a setting, chat, where the world around you is very much felt and has a strong impact on how players go about their day to day. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Um, so yeah, chat, I think in a minute, in a short bit, chat, I will be letting you go back to your lives, back to your own private thoughts, back to everything. It's about that time, chat. But I will, afterwards, I'm going to put up a poll on my Twitter chat. I'm going to put up a poll asking if this should be an art stream or if this should still be a tabletop stream, chat. And in time, I will show you like stat blocks. I may be willing to like work on and discuss some of the class revisions that I'm doing as they slowly come together. It's just a thing I'm doing for fun, chat. It's just a thing I'm doing for my own table. I maybe show you some art from some of the player species, that kind of thing. Um, but chat, but that aside, chat, I think I'm probably gonna see you again on Tuesday, and I will be doing more art stuff. I think I might finish the picture I started last time, or I may decide to because I'm gonna stick with Hades until I beat it, chat. I'm gonna stick with Hades until I beat it. Um and I'm probably gonna do like a little bit of a I might do some Hades Monster Girl art, like some Hades Monster Girl fan art, chat, or something like that. We will see how that goes. Um, I might do two polls, chat. But anyway, I'll be returning to this in the future. I'm sure we'll have other discussions about things. Chat. I'm sure we'll have other discussions about things. But thank you for joining me tonight as we start to explore the world of Ido and start to look at what kind of place it's going to be. And we'll probably do this maybe, I don't know, every so often. And I'll show you where things have gone on too. And if you're lucky, I might talk about some of the other stuff here too. In the meantime, chat, thank you for being here, for sticking with me. This has made a pretty wretched day a lot more bearable. I know I'm ending slightly early, and I'm sorry about that, but I am not feeling my greatest, and I am honestly not sure where to go from here with the map. I feel like it's slowly coming together. Uh, and I feel like it's definitely been expanding. So I'm pretty excited to try and see like how this ends up panning out, chat. I'm excited to see how this is going to pan out. She says, starting to go back to working. But anyway, chat, anyway. Um, what I was, what I was saying, chat, ultimately was I'm going to put those posts up. I'll get back with some art on Tuesday. Uh, we'll be continuing with Hades. I might shift it up a bit, chat. I might try Hades on a Sunday next week. We'll see. Art on Tuesday for sure. Maybe art during the week, games on the weekend. Party time, right? Not that that has much of a meaning for my schedule right now. Anyway, Chad, you have been a delight, as always. I want you to stay safe, Chad. Stay safe, stay well. And if there's one thing I could wish upon you, Chad, one thing I could bestow on you in some capacity, Chad, it's that I hope, genuinely and sincerely, um, that you are happy and healthy and stable. And that for you, life shines, chat, and that when people in your world shine, and that the next time our worlds come together, we can take joy in that radiance. All right, chat. Take care of yourselves, and I will absolutely see you on Tuesday, chat. Same bat time, same bat channel, as they used to say in the old days. Be good to each other, chat. I trust you.